Hey, how y'all doing? This is 919 True Sports with another segment. I'm gonna call this the great mistake that Smoke made. I've done two of these already. One was with Alton McCaskill, and one was with Savion Wilkerson. So check those out. This one's dealing with Smoke, so I'm gonna get right into it. I first heard of Smoke. I didn't know who he was, but I first heard of him through Coach Prime talking about him, talking about how he was from the SEC, the University of Kentucky, and that he was a straight up dog. So after I read that or heard that, I went and did some research on him, and then I did come across some good things about him. They were saying that he has SEC experience, of course, coming from Kentucky. In addition to all of that, they were speaking of how well he was doing in the weight room, how good he was doing at lifting and getting his body right. And then, according to Coach Prime, he was one of the few backs that had a great combination of agility and speed. And of course, if you listen to any of my segments, I definitely know that they need someone with speed besides Dylan, because right now Dylan doesn't have the weight, and it appears that Smoke had both of what they were looking for, the agility and the speed. And so that kind of caught me off guard when I heard that. And then I did read another article that he was while he was at Kentucky, he was underutilized when he was with the Wildcats. But they said that he still managed to collect 13 touchdowns over the past 4 years, which is a testament to his perseverance and him pushing through to still get into the end zone. And he really wasn't playing a lot. So I just think it's kind of weird that he had some of the things that the running backs needed at Colorado, but he never even sniffed the field, or I don't even remember seeing them, to be honest with you. So real quick, let's look at the backs that are in front of him right now. Of course, you have Dylan Edwards on 68 attempts. He's at 278 yards with one touchdown. Anthony Hankerson, 66 attempts with 272 yards and one touchdown. Savion Wilkerson, 33 attempts, 109 yards and two touchdowns. Alton McCaskill, who remember redshirted, is still in front of him with 59 yards and zero touchdowns. And Smoke has two attempts, -2 yards and zero touchdowns. He's also behind as far as rushing, two receivers, Jimmy Horn and Xavier Weaver, because they have rushing yards as well, which is kind of sad. So I was trying to think of maybe some reasons that he didn't play. So I came up with like 5 things. I was like, well, maybe when he got there, he wasn't as good as they thought he was. Maybe he was hurt. Maybe he had a terrible attitude. Maybe academically he was struggling, or maybe he just wasn't good enough for the University of Colorado to use him. Those are just some of the things I was thinking of, because we've never heard any reports on what's going on with him. Coach Prime talked about a lot of other players or some other players, but he never really talked about Smoke that I can remember. So I went back to check him out at the University of Kentucky. He had 1,583 career rushing yards, but he dropped off in 2022. He went from 416 yards on 81 carries to 277 yards on 58 carries his last year that he was there. So what I did was I went back to the Reddit page and I looked at some of the things that some of the Kentucky fans were saying about him to kind of get a feel on what was going on about him. So some of the things that they were saying, some of them felt like that he got lost in the depth chart. So they didn't say if he was good enough or not. They was just thought that he got lost in the depth chart. Some of them said that injuries killed how explosive he was, which makes a lot of sense. But they still thought that he would be a hell of a back. Then a lot of them spoke on the injuries that just killed him and buried him in the depth chart, because of the injuries kept getting him pushed further and further behind other people. They said that he lost a lot of his explosion after his injury, and they say he got pushed back more and more on the depth chart. So some said that he went from a clear number 2 that would run every couple of plays and maybe would be a future starter to not even being able to see the field. After reading and doing a little research, it seems like that he was injury plagued the whole time, even before he got to Colorado. So it may appear, or it appears, that maybe Coach Prime took him and he was damaged goods. And I hate to say those things, but about a young man. But maybe when he came there, he was hurt. Maybe he just never fully recovered, or maybe he wasn't as fast and as quick as advertised or what they saw on film. Because I just think it's ironic that they really don't talk about him at all, about what's going on with him or whatever it was. So I'm not sure if he would have went to any other school he would have played. If what I read and what I had to do some research on is correct, as far as he's not explosive anymore, lost some of his speed, and basically dealing with injuries. And we know in football, as a running back, I don't know if you ever get a true chance to fully recover, because damn near getting hit on every play, which is one of the reasons Alton McCaskill, redshirted to get his knee together, I would assume. So that's my little bit on Smoke. I titled this the great mistakes that he made, but at the same time, this may have been a case of Coach Prime and them taking a chance on him, and it just didn't work out. For reasons out of his control and under Coach Prime's control. Maybe he was really dealing with injuries, lost a lot of his speed and his explosiveness, and maybe that just set him back. He was never able to recover. Of course, with all of those running backs that Colorado have, you probably won't recover, especially with 1 year remaining. So I feel real bad for him. Hopefully he can work out over the summertime or whatever it takes, and maybe he can get a tryout. But the pros are not promised to anyone, and the pros don't wait on anyone, and they definitely don't, deal with pre-existing injuries too well. Especially with the running back position that's devalued anyway in the NFL. So that's my little quick tidbit on Smoke. I can't say that he made a mistake. He might have been just given it one more opportunity to prove himself and just couldn't do it physically, and that's why he dropped back so far. So it looks like, and I could be wrong, but from what I found, it looks like it wasn't a bad decision. On his part. It looks like it might have been a bad decision on Coach Prime in those parts, but at least the young man hopefully is still on track to graduate and gets to leave there with a Colorado degree and can go on about his life, whether it's in the NFL or with a tryout, or just, going into the workforce like a lot of us have to do as, ex-athletes. So I appreciate your time. This was a quick segment. This didn't really have to take long. But it is what it is. Let's hope the best for him. So this has been Hunt 919, Truth to Sports. Ride with me.